The starting point of all meaningful progress in life begins with a clear and personal desire. When a person learns to turn inward and ask themselves what they truly want, not what others expect, not what the world glorifies, but what sets their own soul on fire, they begin to activate a power far greater than any external influence could offer. Too often, people get lost in the noise of comparison, chasing dreams that were never theirs to begin with, seeking approval from people whose opinions hold no real value. In doing so, they dilute their own potential and drift from the course that was uniquely theirs to follow. Focusing on yourself requires courage. It means silencing the distractions, resisting the urge to compare, and becoming deeply honest about what you want to accomplish in this life. That kind of clarity doesn't come from watching others. It comes from self-reflection, from digging beneath the surface, and from recognizing that your purpose is unlike anyone else's. When you stop seeking validation from others and start seeking understanding of yourself, you begin to unlock the kind of energy that builds legacies. A man or woman with a definite purpose, forged from personal conviction, is a force to be reckoned with. They don't waste energy wondering if they measure up to someone else's standards. They don't lose time trying to mimic someone else's path. They wake up each day with a fire to build something that matters to them. That's the essence of real power. Not inherited, not borrowed, but claimed through deliberate focus and action. You don't need to be better than anyone else. You need to be better than you were yesterday. That's the only comparison worth your attention. When you truly focus on yourself, you begin to see the world differently. You notice how often people are distracted by vanity, by social comparison, by shallow metrics of success. But you rise above it because you've chosen to play a different game, the inner game, where you compete not with others but with your own limitations. That shift in mindset is what separates those who live reactively from those who live intentionally. The path of self-focus is not selfish. It's necessary. When you align with your own desires and move with conviction, you not only improve your life, but also become a beacon for others to do the same. But it starts with a decision to stop watching and start doing. To stop measuring yourself by another person's success and start defining your own. You don't need permission. You don't need a crowd to cheer you on. You only need to believe that your life is worth the energy it takes to build it on your own terms. True. This achievement comes when you take full ownership of your direction. That level of responsibility can be intimidating, but it is also liberating. You are no longer a prisoner of public opinion or social expectation. You no longer need to outshine anyone, because your light was never meant to look like theirs. It was meant to be yours, and yours alone. When you understand that, and you begin to nurture it daily, you become unstoppable. All the energy once wasted on distraction begins fuel for progress. All the self-doubt begins to fade, replaced by self-trust. And in that space where you no longer care about being seen, but instead care about being real, greatness begins to grow. Envy is a silent thief. It creeps into the mind when you're looking outward instead of inward, whispering lies that someone else's success diminishes your own. It convinces you that what they have should be yours. And in doing so, it robs you of focus, gratitude, and clarity. When you fall into the habit of comparing your journey to someone else's, you willingly hand over your energy to something that builds nothing. Envy creates illusion. An illusion that others are ahead, that you're behind, that life is some grand race you're losing. But none of that is true. Every person walks a different path, shaped by different circumstances, desires, and timing. To envy another's success is to misunderstand your own potential. What looks like overnight success is often a result of years of effort, sacrifice, and quiet perseverance. The kind that doesn't show up in highlight reels or social media feeds. When you focus on someone else's results without seeing their process, you create a distorted vision of reality. That distortion breeds frustration, and frustration kills momentum. You cannot build something great while staring at someone else's foundation. The energy you pour into envy is energy that could be used for creation. Instead of asking, why don't I have that, the better question is, what can I do with what I have? The answer to that question will always be more empowering. When you direct your attention to your own resources, your own time, your own skills, you take back control. You stop being a spectator in someone else's story and start writing your own. Envy is not just a distraction. It's a dangerous habit that, if left unchecked, becomes a mindset. It makes you bitter when you should be inspired. It makes you stagnant when you should be moving forward. It shifts your gaze from possibilities to problems, from gratitude to lack. And worst of all, it blinds you to your own progress. You could be growing, learning, evolving. But envy won't let you see it because it doesn't want truth. It wants validation. And that's not the fuel that builds a meaningful life. The solution lies in changing your focus, not on what others are doing, but on how you are living. Are you better than you were a month ago? Have you taken one more step toward your goal this week? Did you show up for yourself today? These are the real measures of progress. Quiet, personal, and deeply powerful. The more you pay attention to them, the more you build confidence. And the more confidence you build, the less space envy has to survive. Celebrating others is not weakness, it's wisdom. It shows that you understand success is not finite. Someone else's win doesn't mean your loss. Life isn't a zero-sum game. There's room for everyone to thrive, but only if you're willing to do the inner work required to rise. Work starts when you stop measuring your worth by someone else's milestones and begin investing fully in your own growth. Envy is a choice, and so is freedom from it. You can choose to be consumed by what others have, or you can choose to be consumed by your own vision. One leads to resentment, the other leads to results. One steals your time, the other multiplies it. When you stop envying and start executing, you reclaim your power. You stop living in reaction and begin living in purpose. And from that place, real success, the kind that feels right in your soul, becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Self-discipline is the hidden engine behind all meaningful success. It's not flashy, and it doesn't always earn applause, but it is the quiet force that turns dreams into accomplishments. Without it, potential stays dormant, ideas fade, and goals remain nothing more than wishful thinking. While others might be looking for shortcuts or waiting for motivation to strike, those who develop self-discipline understand that success isn't about feelings, it's about consistency, commitment, and the willingness to do what needs to be done, even when it's inconvenient. When you focus on yourself truly and fully, you begin to understand that your greatest asset isn't talent or luck. It's your ability to direct your action. That means waking up with intention, setting priorities, and honoring the promises you make to yourself. It means showing up every day, not for applause or validation, but because you know that every small step forward adds up. The disciplined person doesn't wait for the right mood. They create it through motion, through effort, through habit. Over time, discipline becomes second nature, a part of who you are, rather than something you have to force. In a world full of distractions, self-discipline becomes a rare superpower. It allows you to say no when others say yes, to instant gratification, to meaningless detours, to the pull of comparison. When you focus on others, it's easy to become reactive. You respond to what they're doing, how they're winning, where they're going. But when you focus on yourself, discipline pulls you back to your own path. It reminds you that your timing, your pace, and your goals are unique. You're not behind. You're building. Building anything worthwhile takes time, and time without direction leads to waste. That's where discipline steps in, to structure your days, to protect your time, to help you trade short-term pleasure for long-term purpose. The people who achieve lasting success are rarely the ones who had everything handed to them. They are the ones who trained themselves to stay committed when it wasn't easy. They kept working when no one was watching. They managed their thoughts, mastered their impulses, and made decisions that aligned with the person they wanted to become, not just the one they were in the moment. Self-discipline is also freedom in disguise. At first, it may feel restrictive. You say no to things, hold yourself to standards, create boundaries. But over time, those very boundaries create space. Space for growth, space for clarity, space for confidence. When you discipline yourself, you no longer feel pulled in 100 directions. You know what matters. You become trustworthy to yourself. That trust creates momentum, and that momentum leads to confidence. Not the loud kind, but the deep, quiet kind. The kind that says, I've got this, even when the world feels uncertain. Connect fuels discipline. You can't be disciplined when your attention is scattered. That's why it's so crucial to bring your focus back to your own journey. Turn down the noise. Stop tracking what others are doing. Your time is precious, and your energy even more so. Spend it on building the habits, systems, and routines that move your life forward. When you become the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do, even when it's hard, even when no one is clapping, you become unstoppable. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about resilience. You will slip, you will stumble, but the disciplined person doesn't stay down. They reset. They recommit. They understand that progress is messy but always possible, and through that understanding, they keep moving. Not for anyone else, but for themselves. Their vision and the life they are determined to build. The mind is a magnet, constantly attracting experiences, people, and outcomes that align with its dominant thoughts. What you think about, believe in, and emotionally invest in shapes the reality you live. That is why focusing on yourself is not just about action. It's about guarding the space where everything begins, your thoughts. When you let your mind wander to the lives of others, comparing, doubting, or questioning your path, you begin to invite chaos into your world. Your mental energy becomes fragmented. And with that fragmentation, clarity and purpose dissolve. When you focus inward and direct your attention to your own growth, you begin to shift your mental frequency. You stop thinking about what you lack and begin to recognize what you can build. You stop feeling behind and start feeling present. This shift is not passive. It requires intentional effort. You must become the gatekeeper of your mind, choosing carefully what you allow in. Just as you wouldn't leave your home's door wide open to anyone passing by, you shouldn't leave your thoughts unguarded, vulnerable to the influence of fear, negativity, or envy. The thoughts you repeat become beliefs, and those beliefs drive behavior. If your mind is constantly filled with thoughts about other people's lives, what they have, what they do, and how far ahead they seem, you begin to internalize a sense of inadequacy. That inner voice starts whispering, "You're not enough. You're not moving fast enough. You're not doing it right." Left unchecked, those whispers become a narrative, a story that holds you back. But you have the power to write a new story, starting with what you feed your mind each day. Feeding your mind positive, purposeful thoughts is not about blind optimism. It's about alignment. When your inner world reflects your goals, your values, and your intentions, your outer world begins to match it. You find opportunities not because they magically appear, but because your mind is tuned to notice them. You make better decisions because you're acting from clarity rather than confusion. You attract the right people because your energy is authentic, not desperate or imitative. It all begins with mental discipline, practicing daily awareness of your thoughts, questioning the beliefs that don't serve you, and replacing them with thoughts that build you up rather than tear you down. When you focus on what you can do, who you can become, and what steps you can take today, regardless of where anyone else stands, you create momentum. And momentum in your mind is the beginning of momentum in your life. Protecting your mind also means being mindful of your environment. What you read, watch, and listen to matters. The conversations you entertain matter. They all influence your internal landscape. So choose wisely. Choose to surround yourself with messages that reinforce possibility, growth, and strength. Choose to let go of the noise that fuels comparison, drama, or doubt. This is not avoidance, it's protection. Just as a gardener removes weeds to let plants grow, you must clear mental clutter to let your purpose thrive. It's easy to underestimate how powerful your thoughts are, especially when they seem small or harmless. But repeated thoughts shape your expectations, and expectations shape your reality. If you constantly expect setbacks, delays, or disappointments, you'll behave in ways that reinforce them. But if you train your mind to expect progress, to expect growth, and to believe in your own evolution, you'll move through life differently, with purpose, confidence, and patience. Focusing on yourself is about reclaiming your mental space. It's about making your mind a place of strength rather than a battlefield of comparison. When you do that, you stop reacting to the world and start creating within it. Your thoughts become aligned with your vision, and your vision becomes the guiding force behind every step you take. Focusing on yourself is not an act of isolation or selfishness. It is an act of empowerment. In a world that constantly demands your attention, where everyone is moving in a million directions, it can be easy to lose sight of who you are and what you truly desire. But when you turn inward and concentrate on your own growth, you reclaim your power. The path to success isn't paved by the comparisons you make to others, nor by mimicking someone else's journey. It's built by the decisions you make every day, the actions you take, and the consistency with which you pursue your own purpose. It starts with defining your purpose clearly and allowing that purpose to guide you, not the fleeting opinions or expectations of others. When you set your mind on your goals and commit to achieving them, the distractions that once seemed important fade into the background. Yes, about becoming fully aware of what you want out of life and then making choices that align with those desires. Even when the world around you is pulling you in different directions, the key to this transformation lies in the discipline to stay focused. Self-discipline is the foundation that holds everything together. It's not the big gestures or the monumental moments that build success. It's the small, consistent actions taken every day, often unnoticed, but compound over time to create extraordinary results. Whether it's committing to a routine, managing your time wisely, or following through on promises you make to yourself, discipline is the muscle that propels you forward, regardless of external circumstances. At the same time, it's essential to protect your mental space. The world is constantly offering opinions, advice, and distractions, but none of it matters unless it resonates with your core values and goals. When you focus on yourself, you make the conscious decision to ignore the noise. You guard your thoughts and fill your mind with only what serves you and your purpose. The power of your mind is unmatched. It is the generator of your actions, your outcomes, and your reality. By curating your mental landscape, you ensure that your thoughts are aligned with your intentions, and that your actions are a true reflection of who you are and what you want to achieve. This journey is a personal one, and it is far from easy. It takes courage to stop looking outside for validation and start trusting yourself. It requires resilience to ignore the temptation to compare your progress with others and instead focus on your own development. But with time and commitment, you will find that the rewards are immeasurable. The freedom to pursue your own dreams, the confidence in your abilities, and the satisfaction of knowing that your success is of your own making are worth every ounce of effort. The world will always have its noise, its distractions, and its opinions. But you are the only one who has the power to control your focus. By choosing to focus on yourself, you build a foundation that is unshakable. You create a life that is deeply rooted in your own desires, your own values, and your own purpose. And as you continue down this path, you will discover that your growth not only leads to personal fulfillment, but also inspires others to embark on their own journey of self-discovery and achievement.